you live via Facebook streaming, YouTube streaming, and also via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming from our studios in Trinidad. These are the new techniques of Tantra meditation. They are connected with light. So Sutras of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, Tantra Dhyan with light techniques. There are 3 sutras in it. The first is consider your essence as light, that you are light. Light, consciousness, they are all synonyms. So consider your essence as light rays from center to center, up the vertebrae, and so rise, and thus rises livingness in you. Consider your essence is light, and it is moving from center to center along this vertebrae, the spinal cord, and thus rises the livingness in you. A spinal cord have 2 nerves, the sun nerve and the moon nerve. One is called Ida, the other is Pingala. They are also known as the holy Ganges, Ganga and Yamuna. In between there is another nerve that is known as Susumna nerve, that is Saraswati. So based on that, man is divided into psychologically 3 categories, 3 ways. Consider man into 3 ways. In terms, there are 3 ways of understanding man in terms of normal, abnormal, and supernormal. So based on where the light or energy moves through Ida, Pingala or Susumna. One is the sun nerve. So there are certain effects when this is the aspect of Kundalini awakening. When it awakens through the sun nerve, it has a different quality. When it different way, different routes of attaining awakening. Sun nerve, moon nerve, so normal, abnormal, and when it arises through the central nerve, it is known as supernormal. Western psychology is basically considered with the abnormal, the pathological. With the man who has fallen down from the normal, who has fallen down from the norms, Eastern psychology, Tantra, Yoga, consider man from the standpoint of supernormal, of the one who has gone beyond the norms. Both are abnormal situations. The normal situation, the West considers, Western psychology considers with abnormal the pathological. With man who has fallen down from the normal, there is a baseline, fallen down below. This is the Western psychology. This is pathological. Eastern psychology, Tantra, Yoga, all these consider man from the standpoint of supernormal, like this is the baseline normal, above normal. One who has gone beyond the norms, who is not following the social norms, the ways and means of rituals. He is understanding why this is used. For instance, I had mentioned to you the Sufi tradition says that when you are sitting in Marakba, you are in prayer, you have to keep a cap on. This is, but why it is done, we don't know. It is done because everybody does it. You go to Gurdwara, you have to keep your head covered. It is something like this I have heard. There was an old woman who used to do normal, regular rituals, prayers. She had a cat. So every time when she is performing the rituals, the cat will come and sit down on her lap. And that will obstruct her performance in the prayer. So one day she went to the market and she saw a basket. So she found that was very interesting, and she had in her mind how to keep the cat away from not sitting in her lap. So the cat will come and sit down near the altar, and within a few minutes it will go and sit on the laps. This is the very nature of cats. Cats sit on the negative energies. Dog sit on positive energies. So in the West there is a tradition for the elderly ladies, they carry cat with them. So now when the prayer began, cat is sitting near her. So she will cover the cat with the basket. So her problem was solved. Cat will remain under the basket, and the prayer was performed. It happened. The cat died. The old lady died. The daughter-in-law who used to see the mother-in-law doing the prayers, so she started following it as a ritual without understanding. So she also bought a cat and a basket. When she is performing the prayers, she will put the cat, cover it with the basket, and continue the prayers. So someone asked, why do you keep the cat? He said, I don't know what is. I think it is a part of the prayer. My mother-in-law used to do it. So I guess it is important aspect of the prayer, right, like any other thing. So this is how rituals and traditions come. Sufism developed in the deserts of the Middle East, where the temperature was very high. During the day, it was blazing hot, and the people have to walk on the streets, they have to work in the gardens, so they keep their head covered. It becomes a habit. So wherever they go, they keep their heads covered. Trinidad is a tropical country where during the summer, by the noon time, the temperature is very high. So the people who are working in the gardens, they keep a hat on their head to protect the head from the intense heat. So that was the reason why the cap was used. If the cap was used for meditation, and meditation, whether it is, you call it dhyan, whether you call it meditation or you call it murakba or anything, is the same process. Boiling the water is the same whether a Hindu does or a Muslim does or Christian does. The water is placed in a pot. The pot is placed on the stove, whatever be your stove, induction coil, open flame, or the coal fire. But the process is the same. The water is put, but it became the tradition. So what actually happens, Eastern psychology looks at Eastern psychology, Tantra and Yoga consider man from the standpoint of supernormal, means one who has gone beyond the norms and traditions, who is not following. When you look at the image, the pictures, the statues of the sages, the ancient sages of the Upanishads, they are meditating but they do not have cap on their head. No cap is used. If there is a weather is normal and if it is very cold, then you may like to cover also. So Eastern psychology looks at the man from the standpoint of supernormal, one who has gone beyond the norms, the traditions, all that is traditional. Both are abnormal. One who is pathological is abnormal because he is not healthy. And the one who is supernormal is abnormal. He is more healthy than the normal human being. So one who does not subscribe to the basic norms and traditions, he is considered as abnormal. Now, when you go to a Hindu temple, at the time of the prayer, everyone has to stand up. It is customary. It is customary but not relevant. It has nothing to do with the prayer. At the time when the arti is done, at a certain point when the prayer is coming to an end and the final prayer is being done, then everybody has to get up. So I will never stand up. Why you don't stand up? Is it part of prayer? Yes, it is. Then why Pandit does not stand up? Why is he sitting? He is sitting because he is, playing the music and singing. He could do that standing also. He could keep his musical instrument, and when we go to the concert, there the people sing the bhajans, or when they start the concert, they may say a prayer, but they say don't sit down, this stand up and say the prayer. So it has nothing to do, no excuse for the Pandit to remain sitting down to offer his namaz or to offer his final prayers, and everyone has to stand up. So whenever I say, oh, you are something else, this is the normal way, you are something else. So such a person is more healthy than the normal person. Psychologically, he is more healthy than the normal person. The difference is of negative and positive. The Eastern psychology is abnormal positively, and the Western psychology is abnormal in a negative way. Western psychology developed as part of psychotherapy. Freud, Sigmund Freud, Carl Gustav Jung, Adler, and other psychoanalysts, psychologists, they were treating the abnormal man, the man who was mentally ill. Because of this, the whole Western attitude towards man became erroneous. Freud was studying the pathological cases. Of course, no healthy man will come to him. No healthy person will go to psychology. If you have problems relating to your love life, to your husband, to your wife, to your children, then you will go to this psychologist or psychotherapist. So you are not going as a healthy person. So Freud was studying pathological cases. Of course, no healthy person will go to him. So only those who were mentally ill, who were not able to cope with the problems relating to love triangle or failure in love or something. So they were studied by him. And because of that study, he thought that now he understood man. Pathological men are not really the men. They have fallen below the baseline for some reason. The problems in love, the family problems everybody faces. You are not able to cope with this, so you fall below the line. Your case is pathological. There are cases when I had to deal with these kind of situations. So I am not dealing the person as a pathological. Yes, a certain things has come into you. I would not allow these to enter your psychology. Before that, you come out of that situation. Pathological men are not really men. They are ill. They are not able to sort out their problems, which are very simple and easy to solve. And anything based on the study of such person is bound to be deeply erroneous and harmful. This has proved harmful because man is looked at from the pathological standpoint, and it is assumed that everybody is like that. If a particular state of mind is chosen and that state is ill, pathological, then the whole image of man becomes disease based, that every man is pathological. Because of this attitude, the entire Western society has fallen down, because the ill man became the base. When you are not able to handle your problems relating to love life, or problems, the love triangle, or things like these, so the ultimate stage is man gets mad. And even when this is happening, your attitude becomes like that of a mad, yelling, screaming, doing things which are not normal for a man. And each one of us may have experience of that. But if you somehow fall in the hands of the Western psychologists or psychotherapists, you can never come out of that, because they consider this state as normal, whereas this is not normal. You have a high fever. You need antibiotics. This is not the normal state. This is a state which is transitory. It is at the moment you have a high fever because of whatever reasons. So you are given a medicine and you can recover from that, and that does happen. If you have the correct treatment, correct technique, you can come out of that situation. Otherwise, what happens? One relationship falls, break down. No sooner that breaks down, the next comes in, and the process continues. There has to be a gap between the two states when you have fallen out of one love relationship, you have to introspect, meditate, and be in a state why it happened. No one is alone responsible, but each one of the partner considers the other as the cause of the breakdown. Nobody is able to accept his or her own blame, but we continue to blame on the others. When this is the attitude, with that you enter into next relationship, it will happen the same way. So you need to have a break, understand it. It becomes, that period becomes difficult to deal with. Two things, psychologically and biologically also. You are accustomed to certain things, but that there is a break, so you are not going into, so there are biological needs, and because of the biological needs, you enter into the next relationship without considering and introspecting it. And if you study only these kind of people, you cannot conceive of any possibility of supernormal being. A Buddha is impossible for Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud cannot conceive that there can be a Buddha. He must be fictitious, must be mythological. A Buddha cannot be a reality for Sigmund Freud. For a psychotherapist, psychoanalyst, Buddha is fictitious, mythological. Freud has only come in contact with people who were ill, who were not even normal, and whatsoever he says about the normal man is based on the study of the abnormality of the man. Because the men who have fallen below the level of normal, if we draw a straight line, geometrical straight line, and a vertical and a horizontal line, so the horizontal line represents the state of normal state of the mind. Above that is supernormal. Below that is below normal, but that is also abnormal. The above is also abnormal. I gave you the example. One who does not subscribe to the basic norms, traditions, why do I have to do this? You tell me the reason. If that reason appeals to me, I am not going to do that because my father did it or this thing. He did it. So explain to me, why should I do this? If there is a scientific reason behind it, not tradition, I do not follow the traditions. If I know it, I will do it. Now, it was that in meditation you need to sit down in a lotus posture. Lotus posture. What is the significance of lotus posture? Lotus posture means your body is in a circular motion, a position. So there is no possibility of escape of the energy from any point. Number one. Number two, your back remains straight. Back remains straight. If the energy has to flow and there is a kink in the energy channel, the energy will not flow normally. Just as you have a garden hose, it is bent, or when you want to carry the garden hose a little further and I do not want the water to spill, so you fold it. And in that, the flow of the water is obstructed. So if there is, back is bent, is not straight, the energy is not flowing. So two reasons. Number one, energy to flow and not to escape from you from any ends of the nerves. Energy moves from the ends of the nerves. So lotus position, they creates a circle. Now the first thing is this, you can do the same thing using the Zen stool. Zen meditation stool, you sit down on that, you can cross your legs, you can put your hands on your knees, and in that position, naturally the back will remain straight. So you can use that technique. You can use that device to keep your back straight. The sitting down on the ground has become difficult for the men who are not accustomed to doing the exercises, so back naturally bends, cannot remain straight. The spine totally straight in front of the back. So there are meditation chairs which gives you the same position as you are sitting in a lotus position. The chairs, they have no legs. It has a back. So because if you have a horizontal alone, that cannot stay. So it has a base, the vertical and horizontal both. You sit down on the wood. If you take the chair and remove its legs, it will be flat on the ground. You can sit down on that squatting in lotus posture, and the upright side of the back will keep your back straight. Now, if this device is available, should I not use? Buddha ate sweet rice, the porridge, because that was the only thing was available to him after he came out of the Niranjana river. He came out of the Niranjana river, and that was available to him. Sujata brought for him. He ate that. So Buddhist monk, in these certain stages, they also eat sweet rice. Buddha sat in lotus posture, spreading the leaves on the ground. So Buddhist monks do that also. This is tradition. The moment you break those, you are considered as abnormal. You cannot sit down in a lotus position. The modern man finds it difficult to sit in the lotus position. You can use Zen stool. You can use the meditation chair. And you are exactly in the same position. Buddha did not have the air-conditioned place available to him, but it is available to you. So do you want to go out and do that? You can sit down in an air-conditioned position and on your meditation chair and remain in the same lotus position with back straight. So Eastern psychology treats the man as supernormal, who has gone above the zero ordinate. Eastern psychology, particularly Tantra and Yoga, has a concept of man, but that concept is based on the study of the supernormal, like Buddha, Pathology, Shankar, Nagarjuna, Kabir, Nanak, on persons who have reached the peak of human potentiality and possibility. Sigmund Freud, Western psychology, studies the men who have fallen below the baseline. The lowest has not been considered, only the highest. The Eastern psychology bases everything based on the study of those who have reached the highest. If you consider the highest, your mind becomes an opening. You can grow because now you know the higher is possible. A Buddha could attain to that. Kabir could reach to that state of awakening. Nanak could reach to that level of awakening. Why can't I? Why can't you reach to that state? You have to study what Buddha did. How he did? Not that Buddha ate sweet rice, you ate sweet rice. How he reached. If you psychologically understand that, you can attain to that same state. If you consider the lowest, as the Western psychology does, no growth is possible. There is no challenge. Buddha stands in front of you as a challenge. Tao stands in front of you as a challenge. In spite of doing all those things at his age, making his living and is still continuing to do his other responsibility for the growth of the human consciousness when he can do, why can't I do that? When Brij Mohan Lal was writing the script, the monthly scripts for the annual magazine, and he was that time writing the biography of Lalaji and Chachaji, he did not have a fan. He did not have a desk and a chair. He will sit down on the ground or on the Indian bed and will write it that. He has to take out his the jack kurta because of the intense heat, and he still writes. And what he wrote, with all that air conditioner, comforts, desk, laptop and all, he is writing with the pen on a piece of paper. I had gone through in the first few scripts that I wrote, they were written with pen on a piece of paper. Now the technology has changed. I do not write anything unless it is very essential. It is typed straight away on the laptop or the device that is available to you. I am sitting on the desk and there is an air conditioner on, temperature is controlled, the light is there enough, and yet still I have complaints. Do I have a right to complain and say that I cannot produce the work to the quality of Brij Mohan Lal? Who did it with all those shortcomings? So there is, if you consider the lowest, there is no possibility of growth. For Sigmund Freud, man cannot grow because there is no challenge. According to Eastern psychology, Buddha is my challenge. Kabir is challenge to me. Brij Mohan Lal has challenged my awareness. Lalaji is a challenge to me. Kabir, Nanak, Pathology, Nagarjun, they are challenging me standing. If you are normal, you feel happy. It is enough that you are not perverted, that you are not in, you have not made your house as a mental asylum. You can feel good, but there is no challenge. With the normal man, as you see living on the day-to-day life, not getting angry this and that and so, that does not create a challenge in you. But if you seek the supernormal, the highest possibility that can happen in a man, that possibility that you can be that, if someone has become that possibility, if that possibility has become actual in someone, then a possibility exists for growth in you, and it opens all the possibility of growth in you. You can grow. A challenge comes to you. You need not be satisfied with what you are. Sometimes this creates anxiety in an individual, that I have so much of potentiality and yet still it is not happening. You have to remember the bud has the potentiality to become the flower, but between the bud, the time the bud appears on the plant and by the time it becomes flower, there is a process. It has to go through all the rigors, and then it can, so bud is not anxious. There is no anxiety what will happen. Will I be allowed to blossom, or will I be picked up before that? The bud has its own beauty. It has its beauty. It may not have its fragrance as much as a blossomed flower has, but it has its own beauty. So if this gardener picks up that bud, that means that bud will also add to the beauty of the bouquet. That bud will add to the beauty of the bouquet. Where there are blossomed flowers, where there are flowers who are on the path of blossoming, there are Buddhas, there are Bodhisattvas, there are Arhats. All are in the bouquet that God presents to humanity. The bouquet that God has created, has prepared for the humanity, that has Bodhisattva also. Can you have in your bouquet only blossomed flowers, not the leaves and other accessories that are put? Just leaves alone? It is the contrast that adds the beauty. So the bouquet, can you have a bouquet just with a flower alone, the single flower? But a bouquet, you can buy a single flower, but when you need to give for a special occasion, God has given that bouquet as a special occasion to humanity, to human beings. It has Buddhas in it also. They fully blossomed. It has awakened. It has those who are in the process. It has those who have nothing to do with the blossoming. They are just fern leaves. Does it not use the fern leaves alone? They add to the beauty of the bouquet. If you are a fern, you are in the bouquet of God. You are significant because you are adding to the beauty of the bouquet that God is presenting to humanity. Tantra, your growth has not finished. You are not the end product. The bud is not the end product. And even the bud has gone through different stages. Buddha explains in Discipline of Transcendence stages. The one comes out of his fold, Shrotapan, the first stage, who has now decided to follow the spiritual path. Then Shrotapan, Angamin, Hritgamin, Arhat, Bodhisattva, Buddha. So when you are in these stages, so the bud is in the stages of blossoming. You cannot see its growth. You are unnecessarily being worried. What will happen? Bud is not worried about it. You are just in the middle. You can fall down. The possibility exists. You can rise above and become the Buddha. If you are in the stage of Arhat, you think you cannot be of helpful to the others, do not consider that way. Yes, that was your role. Your role was up to here. And you do not know what your role is destined. You have to blossom. If that is the case, it is accepted. Your growth has not yet finished. You are not the end product. You are just a passage, something constantly growing in you, despite your anxiety, despite your understanding. Tantra conceives of and bases its entire technique on the possibility of growth. We'll continue in tomorrow's session until next session on Saturday. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.